Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May the 19th, 2026. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hopefully the day treated you well. As for me, as for mine, it's been a good day. It's been a solid day. A bit of a thorn at the end, but yeah, we'll get to it. So we started off our day. Actually got a good amount of sleep. That was nice. Got ourselves together. We got to work. Work was good. I feel like I'm still on this, like, I'm figuring out this new wave bullshit. I know I've been kind of crying and whining about it, but, we're making our way downtown, and that's good. That feels good. So yeah, I would call today a good day in that regard. I did have a funny moment at work where I was in the break room, and one of the coworkers, been there a long time, a little bit longer than me. They had a thing of peanut butter and jelly, and like for a flash of a second, I had this thought. I'm like, damn, they trying to be like me now. They about to eat me. Because I'm now a peanut butter boy for sure. I'm eating crunchy peanut butter out the jar with a spoon. It's not a good look, I will say, and which leads me to this point of, I was like, I peep it, and they go, "Hey, Isaiah," and I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And they go, "I got this for you," and I'm like, "What?" I go, and I see that the peanut butter and jelly is for me, and I'm very appreciative, and I take it, like, thank you, thank you so much. But I'm thinking, oh no, this is the second person who's clocking my fucking brand right now. They are seeing me covered in peanut butter like a damn monster, and they're like, well, the least I could do is just buy him a jar. This is round two of me looking like the most desolate motherfucker in the break room somehow. And, I love that for me because, I mean, hey, free as me. I definitely took it. And, I don't know, maybe I will incorporate jelly into my rotation. I don't know. It feels like it's a little too much sugar, but, I mean, who can say? I watched, Will Tennyson put out a video about like just the weight culture in Japan, or not Japan, I'm sorry, South Korea. And like this was some shit I was pretty like already hip to. I was kind of like a bit hesitant to watch it, but I was like watching someone watch it. I know that sounds really fucking lame, but so it goes. So just getting into that, I was just thinking to myself like, oh, this is like a hard watch, but a very interesting watch. But a part of it that was interesting was like Will was like trying like different diet foods that he was like finding in Korea, and like finding out that they have like these frozen like popsicles that like essentially were pretty fucking tasty apparently, or at least tasty enough, but like 0 calorie, quote unquote. I'm like, that's crazy work. Like, and I don't want to get into the weeds of that, but essentially they also had a thing where like they were eating jellies, and I'm like, eating jelly? Yo, like that might be a strat. I said, oh, no, let's not go down that rabbit hole. I have my own dysmorphia to deal with, okay? So, needless to say, I got free PB and J and no bread, and I was thankful for that. Anyway, close out the day. We get to the gym. Gym was solid, especially for a busy day. Made the most of it. Let's see here. Post gym, I came home. I did get my stretch in. We're back on the habit. Got a snack in me, and did some research. Now, what was the bad part? What was the bad part of the day? Surely it wasn't getting free peanut butter and jelly. And of course not. That was a good thing. It was the note that I received at my door, which, in a way I kind of felt coming. I thought it was going to happen last year. I was glad that it did it. But essentially it was a rent increase, which, well, once again, that's an inevitable thing living in this wonderful capitalist society that we do indeed thrive in, of course. And, as much as that usually stresses me out, as much as it is stressing me out in some kind of way, I'm like, I haven't looked at my bank account today because I'm just not even trying to see that shit and get more upset. But it's just one of those things where, it's not my first rodeo. And to some extent, like, you just have to get used to these things. You have to be desensitized to these things. Yeah, that slow boiling alive feeling that you have, you just have to endure that, because what else can you do? That's just the times, baby. That's just living in the world. Keep on rocking in the free world. Sorry. That just came to me. So yeah, it just is what it is. I know. Also, if I look around, I'm still going to have the cheapest rent around town, even with this increase. So it just is what it is. In a way, I was thankful that they did it about a week or so earlier than they normally would. So I was like, wow, what an olive branch to extend. How gracious. So yeah, there was that. That was the thorn. But hey, we move. I'm doing the best with what I have, and I'm very thankful. You know what I mean? I look at where I'm at now, especially even back then, with the last rent increase and the one before that, and I'm like, look, like each of those moments were way more harried, way more stressful. I was, way more in my woes in my bag, but like, I think we're in a better place one way or another. Maybe not fiscally. We're still as fucked as before, but like maybe the mental is better, So I'm trying not to be as negative. I'm saying that. All right. So speaking of lifting ourselves up, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into the news. Now, I got to say, half of this episode, I think, is pretty much just a rehash of yesterday, which kind of sucks. This is giving a bit offbeat episode, but like, sometimes we got to. Like, we had the shooting in San Diego. That's where we're going to start. Is it another rain situation? Actually, today was like very nice, but I did hear a little bit of rolling thunder. So it looks like you're getting maybe a little bit more rain in the episode. Ugh. Ooh. All right. From The Guardian. Teenagers behind mass shooting in San Diego rushed at mosque fully armored. The two teenage assailants responsible for a mass shooting at the Islamic Center of San Diego, California, rushed towards the mosque fully armored with handguns and rifles, authorities said. So that's a bit of, an update on what they had on hand. A security guard shot and struck one of the shooters, according to members of the mosque, but the attacker continued charging. The guard also alerted administrators of the school at the Islamic Center, telling them to go into lockdown before he was shot and killed. If it was not for him, the carnage would be much worse, said Imam Taha Hussein. He sacrificed his life. The two other victims had been on the phone calling the police when they were killed, according to a witness who shared what he saw in an Instagram post from the Islamic Center. Police rushed to the scene and ultimately found the suspected shooters near the Masjid, I'm sure I'm fucking that up, dead from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. I also heard, listening to, I believe it was Star Here, ABC Star Here, that they had taken a shot at a landscaper, contractor, something to that effect, but they had a helmet on, and because they had that helmet on, they lived, I think. So that's crazy. Also, there wasn't a specific inclination that it's like, hey, this was Islamophobic, but essentially from what we've kind of gathered from we'll put a manifesto in quotations. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, we dig through the crates to see what we find. If they leave a note, that's the note. We're gonna just have to call this the manifesto, or the manifestos for these two people. But essentially, they expressed a broad hatred towards various races and religions. Investigators also found 30 firearms and a crossbow after searching 2 residences in connection with the investigation. Rimley said agents also seized tactical gear, ammunition, and electronics. Let's see. On Monday, the mother of one of the shooters had alerted police soon before the shooting occurred that her son, a 17-year-old high school student, was suicidal and potentially armed. Officers had been looking for the 17-year-old and his 18-year-old friend in a neighborhood near the mosque as they opened fire. I think that's a really key thing, just because, we've definitely covered stories before where in the aftermath of these situations, we immediately go, okay, well, we're going to look at the parents. Where did you fuck up? Because we need to get her pound of flesh somewhere. We need to exact justice from somewhere. And I'm not saying that in these situations they aren't warranted. You have to look at them case by case. But you can see why. And I'm not saying that this is why the mother was motivated. But essentially they're like, okay, I see my son is having a moment. They've run away. And they are looking like they're intending to do something. So they're calling the cops. And the cops are springing into action. But then you also see in the situation, like, this is a peak scenario where, like, hey, we are even getting ahead of it. I mean, obviously, you don't have a minority report, but essentially we are getting ahead of a shooting before it happens, and we cannot do that. Even with law enforcement, even in 2026 with the technology and shit that we have, motherfuckers are just roaming around saying, hey, we're going to do this shit today. We got our parents, firearms or whatever. We're going to make this shit happen now. And they did at least attempt to do something, and they did kill people. So, what is there to do? You just up the security and you say, okay, that's what it is. And we keep the threat level at this peak until further notice, until we can't fund the security for it and wait for there to be a lapse, or, that is the state of things. And I know too that I feel like it's not just even here. Like, I feel like one of our greatest exports, is pop culture, but also violence. So I don't know, man. It's a frustrating situation to kind of keep coming back to and keep covering. And I know, especially in the situation where we're covering the same story back to back, I still don't have the names of the shooters. And I'm always hit and miss on those kind of things, on whether or not I get into the details of that. Also said manifesto, if and when that becomes more revealed to us. But I felt like it was worth mentioning also to definitely, highlight the security, the people who are like, hey, I want to protect the people here. And if it wasn't for them, they for sure would have gotten in there and done much worse. So that's worth noting, I guess in that regard. So yeah, but obviously, condolences to the people who lost their lives in the situation. God help me. I hope we get to a place where I'm not covering these kind of stories as often. And I think there's some moments where you almost think like, okay, like, but I've said this before, I'll say it again. I often know, especially in America, just because I'm not seeing the stories as the main headline doesn't mean they're not fucking happening at like local levels in terms of like just people popping off, shooting each other for this, that, and the fucking third. We cover plenty of those fucking stories too. It's just sometimes they just don't get the headway because, there's a conflict here, there's a conflict there, and gas is fucking $5, So yeah, I feel like it's worth highlighting this one, talking about this one a little bit more, so that's what I did. Let's move on. We actually got a slippity slide into the Trump verse. From CBS News, Senate advances resolution to limit Trump's Iran war powers for first time after 4 Republicans defect. The Senate advanced a resolution to limit President Trump's war powers in Iran on Tuesday, marking a breakthrough for Democrats after 7 failed attempts. Senators approved a motion to discharge the resolution from committee in a 50-47 vote. 4 Republicans, Senators Suzanne Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Rand Paul of Kentucky, and Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, that's right, the guy on his fucking way out, joined the bulk of Democrats in favor of advancing the resolution. And stinky fucking John Fetterman of Pennsylvania was the sole Democrat to oppose. Brother, like, I hate that fucking Fetterman dude is just literally somehow Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema like wrapped into one guy. And like there's something about his dullard like delivery of everything and just like him crossing his arms like he's just like that guy for doing this shit. I guess it's akin to the Cinema curtsy. it pisses me the fuck off. And I think that there's something to, I say this, but like Kirsten Sinema was also the same way, where you wanted to believe in the shit that they were selling in the moment. And then they get into power and they just become the most bought person you've ever fucking seen. Like, they just are ready to bend over. Like, dude's just got the Israeli flag in his shit, just waving that shit around. He's like, that's what I give a fuck about. I don't give a fuck about anybody else. Everybody else is a terrorist, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I know, I'm getting off the rails on this whole fucking Fetterman shit, but every time his name comes up, I just see red, and I just get really fucking bummed out. And it's just a reminder that, like, all these motherfuckers are snakes. Like, they're just the fucking worst, dude. But yeah, Cassidy flipped. I mean, he essentially got his burn notice. He knew he was on the way out, and I feel like this was just his last middle finger to old Donald. You know what I mean? And good for him. Good for a motherfucker getting theirs. We do love a little bit of petty revenge. We do a little comeuppance. It's also worth noting as well, 3 Republicans, Senators John Cornyn of Texas, Tommy fucking Tuberville of Alabama, fuck him, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, did not vote, tipping the scales in Democrats' favor for the first time since they began bringing war powers resolutions related to Iran. I think it's also another thing that's worth noting as well is that this is on the heels of Cassidy, getting taken out. Also, just the other midterm revenge push from Donald Trump. We're about to actually segue into Massey a little bit too, a little bit of an update there because that's happening. But he, it looks like his head's on the block. But at the same time, people are still, at least these moderate block of conservatives, they are piping up whenever they can, or at least not whenever they can, let me rephrase that. Whenever they're kind of seemingly pushed to their edge, their limit, and they know that their constituents are like writing them the letters and sending them the emails and calling them and shit, and they're like, I just gotta have this bigger room to say no here, I can't go with you on this shit. And it's worth noting too, this shit's probably gonna get vetoed. It's not like the House is going for it. This is in the Senate. So it's kind of a nothing fucking burger, but it's a sign of the times that, like, Trump needs to come up with something. He's got to fucking wrap this shit up, B. But I don't know. Listening to, people who I feel like are smarter than me have a better handle of this fucking situation. Just like how, it's like, hey, we're essentially in a state of infinite ceasefire. There has to be this slacking and then this tension and then this slacking and then this tension. And essentially we're almost on too much slack with this shit, it seems. And like over the weekend, I know there's been a little bit of pitter patter, drone here, drone there, whatever. We don't know who's from where, but we had to blow that shit up, ? So, and then Trump has also increased his rhetoric again, like I said, talking about, I'll do it. I'll fucking start blowing people up again. We can get ready. This deal's about to sour, obviously wildly paraphrasing, but it's almost looking like, yeah, we're about to re-engage again and then see what happens with a negotiation. Are you going to cry Uncle Iran or no? And I mean, it's looking like from Iran's stance, no, they're not. So I don't know, man. Shit's still sticky. Shit's still icky. But that being said, moving on to Massey. The polls, at least as of 7:44 today, not looking good for Thomas Massey. Ed Gallerin is up 54.2 to Massey's 45.8. I think only at this point, though, maybe about 15% of the votes were counted or whatever. But man, I was listening to the Daily today, and just actually hearing Thomas Massey and like his pitch, and once again, this is not me trying to fucking glaze or whatever the fuck, but like, this is once again a politician. Like, you are getting what you're paying for. Like, he is at least giving you the lip surface of saying, hey, I'm trying to like work with you guys. I'm trying to listen to you guys. I took on Jeffrey Epstein. I took on the billionaire elite pedophiles like you asked, and that is what his base is asking and been saying. But at the end of the day, you hear these people in these like little meetings and powwows that he's trying to have. They crop up and they're like these like conspiracy ridden MAGA hat motherfuckers who just look at Trump like he's a deity, and like they can't rationalize how this guy who they love, who they voted for multiple fucking times, they can't rationalize like, hey man, like, I know I fuck with you, but I can't fuck with you because Donald Trump says I can't. And like Massey's like, that doesn't make sense, but okay. And I find it very funny. It's in a grim, macabre fucking way, of course. Like, it's a shame that this is what it is. Maybe this is what it always has been. It's always a fucking joke. Everyone's just looking for, like, the guy who's gonna sell them the dream. Like, they just have this full-throated, wholehearted support of this man. And it's not Massey. They believe in Donald Trump over all of it. And it's like, even though this guy is actually talking common sense to them to the best of his fucking ability, it doesn't reach them. And like, once again, they hear the ad. And then on the other side of it too, to hear the Ed Gowron guy, literally just a retired military man who is just coming in to say yes to Donald Trump or Mike Johnson or JD Vance. He literally says that shit, but then also says, I'm not a yes man. I'm not that. But like, what is your policies? What are you gunning for? Like, Thomas Massey has those things. What do you have? I'm Trump's guy. Do I need to say more? And people are like, yes, but then he's like, I'm Trump's guy. I did military stuff. And that's it. And that's all he is needing. This should not be a fucking race. Massey should not be fighting for his life and losing. Okay? I'm not rooting for the guy. There's something funny about that. But like, it's just a sign of the times and where we are at and where we are going, man. And that is that's the pits, baby. But anyway, we'll keep it moseying. More on Trump, more on the, like I said, this rehash shit. We gotta talk about the whole IRS slush fund bullshit from Politico. Let me take a little quick water break. Justice Department expands Trump settlement to cover his tax audits. The Justice Department on Tuesday expanded the just announced settlement of President Donald Trump's lawsuit over the leaking of his tax returns to include a pledge that the IRS will no longer pursue any claims it may have against Trump, his family members, and his companies over unpaid taxes. The 9-page settlement agreement the DOJ released Monday, setting up a nearly $1.8 billion fund to compensate victims of alleged weaponization of law enforcement, did not mention any resolution of disputes over Trump's tax returns, which he has repeatedly claimed were under protracted audits by the IRS. However, a one-page document posted on the DOJ website early Tuesday includes a sweeping release under which the IRS is forever barred and precluded from pursuing examinations of Trump-related or affiliated individuals and related trusts and businesses. The waiver specifically encompasses tax returns filed before the effective date of the settlement, which was Monday. I don't feel like you should be able to get away with that. It is worth noting that this is not for future shit that they can do, but I think that this is also showing that they will go out of their way on the way out to cover their ass on that shit, and they will be allowed to do so unless, I don't know, this shit that's probably gonna go all the way to the Supreme Court gets fucking vetoed. But until then, essentially Trump's saying, hey, I have a $1.8 billion slush fund to use for whatever I shall please. And he's, made the stipulations like, hey, it's for the Russiagate bullshit, that fraudulent bullshit, and the January 6th shit. That, like, anyone, and it's not for me. I'm not going to use it for me. But all my homies get to use that shit, okay? Ain't no fun unless the homies can have some, you know what I'm saying? And essentially, he can just chuck him some fucking bones. Here's a milli. Have at it. Appreciate your service, good patriot. Thanks for standing by for me. I mean, we'll see how this shit does get used, but it's crazy. And also, like, this is the face up bullshit. We've talked about the fact that they are raking in so much fucking money as we speak. We haven't even completed year number 2 of term 2. They have been looting the fucking government. Like, just our money is just going into their shit. One way or another. By bit or by fucking, USD, motherfucker. Or by gold. Like, I don't know. It's so frustrating, man. We're getting hustled. And we voted for the guy. Like, it's just like we look like such clowns. So yeah, I felt like adding this. It felt important. There's more details. Essentially Todd Blanche defending this fucking shit. Man, I mean, and all these motherfuckers are getting a cut. So in that regard, I get it. Like, of course you're gonna get along to get some. Like, you know what I mean? Not only are you gonna get your book deals and shit once all this shit is posted up, I'm sure you're gonna have some cool gig in the private sector. But everyone gets theirs. You know what I mean? You just have to be an evil piece of shit and ready to fuck your country over for it. Like, and the audacity too of this administration, this country, to talk about fucking corruption anywhere else. And I'm not even saying that to exclusively the Trump administration. We've been like this. It's just this is the most face-up fucking ghoulish version of it. I understand that. But man, it makes us look like such fucking jabronis, bro. Anyway. Let's go ahead and do our last story for the day. And this one, it's fresh. It's new. It's a hitman story. It's a hit job. At least alleged or, attemptedly alleged. I should put that in there. A little podcaster buffer there. All right. But let's go ahead and, speaking of buffer, let's take our last break. Let's go ahead and shut it down. Why don't we? That's coming. You'll get it. Ooh wee. All right. From entertainment. TikTok star and her father arrested in an alleged murder plot targeting her boy band singer ex. All right. Let me just run. I'm actually going to just hit the key points and then run into the story. Why not? Influencer Gabby Gonzalez was arrested in California on Monday. Her father, Francisco Gonzalez, was arrested the same day in Florida. We love a good Florida man story, by the way. A warrant claimed that the father-daughter duo conspired in a murder-for-hire effort targeting Gabby's ex, Why Don't We singer Jack Avery. The influencer, who has nearly 900,000 followers across her Instagram and TikTok accounts, was arrested by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Bureau of Investigation around 4:30 p.m. on Monday, according to jail records. She is being held without bail at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department station in Norwalk, California. Gonzalez's father, Francisco Gonzalez, was arrested the same day in Seminole County, Florida, on an out-of-state fugitive warrant, according to jail records. A warrant for Francisco's arrest, which has been reviewed by Entertainment Weekly, indicates that there is probable cause that the influencer and her father knowingly entered into an agreement to arrange a murder for hire targeting her ex Jack Avery, the singer in the boy band Why Don't We. Avery is the father of Gabby's daughter, Lavender. Representatives for Gabby Gonzalez, Francisco Gonzalez, Avery, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, and Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office did not immediately respond to requests at Entertainment Weekly. Let's see here. In the document, Sadio Garcia, a detective for the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, alleged that Francisco is suspected of violations including conspiracy to commit murder and solicitation of murder. Garcia claimed that the alleged conflict between Gonzalez and Avery arose from custody over Lavender, alleging that Francisco became heavily invested in the custody dispute and hostile towards Avery. So, that's very sad to see, because, I mean, whether you're, a micro celebrity, whether you're big time, whether you're just an average Joe, these are things that can come up, that they're conflicts of the heart, you got to split. Obviously, there's a child involved. Like, I get that tensions are running hot, but to take it to this level when really it's just like, hey, let's just fucking get through this situation, and maybe this situation is going to be a long streak of time where I'm going to have to do some shared custody and things of that nature, and it's not going to be fun. We're not going to have a good time. But at the end of the day, we were a family. We still are a family to, some extent, some way, right? We got to make these things work. But instead, Garcia, or Gonzalez, I should say, I'm sorry, was like, no, actually, I don't have to do that. Actually, what if we just eliminated the problem? Which is like, you just can't do that. And once again, love women in men's fields. Though, this is a man, too. We got to include the Florida man. We got to include the dad. He was also like, hey, I'm hip to this plot, and I'm helping it. I'm aiding it. Let's make these calls. Let's figure this out. No. You're the father. You're another person in this conversation. If you care about your daughter and your granddaughter, or grandson, grandchild. There we go. My bad. Daughter. My bad. Yeah. You care about your fucking granddaughter. Like, don't do this. Like, this is a terrible path to go down. But hey, they were pot committed. They said, hey, let's get all in. Let's see. Garcia went on to allege that a witness accused Francisco of paying a man around $10,000 to kill Avery, while another claimed that the TikTok star repeatedly said she wanted Jack Avery dead, and discussed hiring a hitman to coordinate a slaying that would be made to look like a car accident. Ooh. The detective also alleged that Francisco spoke on the phone with an undercover agent posing as the killer, as they discussed details of the hit that suggested Francisco's direct operational awareness of and participation in the murder-for-hire scheme. He also claimed that before the alleged murder plot, Francisco hired a private investigator in Hawaii to trail Avery to obtain information about whether he was drinking, smoking, alone, receiving assistance, or otherwise acting in a way that could be used against him in the custody dispute. Now, for some reason, I paused out here, and I don't know, I just started thinking, right? Because I started thinking about just the ethics of a private investigator. Obviously, to me, it's pretty icky, right? But I get that, like, on its face, this is like a person you're hiring. They have a legal license to do this shit. Like, they are technically legally within their means. This is like one of those gray things. But at the end of the day, that they're allowed to do so, quote unquote, right? But, like, then I thought about the combination platter of, like, hiring, and this is not me trying to, like, give any fucking free tips. Obviously, I'm fucking a dumb armchair guy. You should not be getting murder tips from me. I haven't murdered anyone anyway, and I would probably be bad at it. Anyway, but I'm thinking, you get your private eye. Private eye is watching you. Which, that's seeing your every move. Ooh, icky, stinky, get away from me, tomato. You hire the private eye, you get all your notes, you're getting all this data. You're downloading on your app, right? And then you coordinate with a hitman with this information that you've received from the private eye. Technically, legally, right? Like, obviously, this isn't like some kind of loophole to get it done and get away with it. But I'm just thinking in terms of facilitating it, that was like, oh, is that a move? Was that a line? Was that what they're trying to say here? I don't think so, but still, they were just trying to get dirt on this guy just for the custody dispute. So it's like, hey, we get points, and maybe that might give us more custody, or what have you. Okay, like I said, rotten business, but, whatever. The fact that you took this to murder is obviously the real problem here. That just had me thinking. I was like, I wonder if anyone's ever done that. Like, hey, I'm hiring the private eye. I'm getting my notes. I'm sending those notes to the hitman. Which I also have to make the addendum. Almost every time this is what happens. It is an undercover agent. You are telling this shit to the cop. And guess what? Put the cuffs on. Gotcha. And Anna took the money. Like, so don't do it. It's not worth it. But I also say that it's not every time. I feel like I got a little too cozy with that, and then I was reminded, hey, no, sometimes the hitman is real, and sometimes they do it. Sometimes they do it for less than that. So, hey, buyer beware that way. But, because in that regard, you do get what you pay for. And, I guess in every way in that way. But yes, Garcia alleged that Francisco is linked by witness statements, bank records, covered payments, coded communications. We love a coded communications. Private investigator activity, and direct undercover contact to an agreement and plan to kill Jack Avery. So they actually are kind of tying it in there, actually. It looks like they are going to make that, and I think that's plausible. Let's see. It is not immediately clear whether Francisco or Gabby have entered a plea. I would imagine they are going to hit the old not guilty. Avery said that he received a visit from FBI agents during a 2025 interview with the Zach Sang show. Someone hired someone to kill me, he said, or he shared. I can't speak on a lot, but that shit traumatized me. And it turned me into, I guess he just trails off. I stayed in my house for like a month straight. I didn't leave. Which, I get that. I feel like I would be in the house for maybe more than a month. Also, once again, too, I imagine they told him about the private investigator angle, and it's like, what? They were looking at me trying to see if I was smoking or like hanging out alone. Like, what the fuck? They just wouldn't leave this guy in his broccoli haircut alone, and that, I think that is fucked up. Okay, I don't fuck with that. All right. I don't know. I guess this just really had me, like, it's not like it's the first time I've ever heard of a private eye or something, but it just really had me dwelling on private eye. Hitman. Could they be connected? I guess I am a dumbass in that regard. Because, yeah, they've probably been doing that a lot. I almost wonder if there's ever been, like, a dialogue between, like, the private eye and, like, a guy. Like, you wouldn't happen to be using all this information to, like, I don't know, arrange a hit, right? And then, like, no, man, no. Never. I would never do that. I just wanted to know what Cecilia was doing. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. That's all I really have for today. That is the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Let's see. Free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Let's see. What I'm spacing out. We'll skip. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. On the YouTube, the Spotify, TikTok. I'm on all that shit and more. Let's see. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcast. Always appreciate it, but you don't have to do that. I really just appreciate you just hanging out with me. Just letting me rant and rave about my day, about the life and times, shit going on. The shit I'm speculating will happen. I'm always trying to be on some fucking Nostradamus mentat ass shit, and I'm always very off. But the times that I do get to say, I told you so, it really does scratch the Virgo in me. What can I say? But yeah, that's it. That's the episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.